So imagine you're staring at your screen, right? And you've got like 15 completely different documents open all at once.
Oh, the classic project management nightmare.
Exactly. You've got a chain of angry, misspelled emails from a subcontractor. You have this dense, like, 200-page legal contract and a massive color-coded spreadsheet that honestly just looks like the Matrix at this point.
Right, and it's all flashing red.
Yeah. And you have exactly 10 minutes to figure out who owes who. Like, $1 million before a major client meeting. I mean, 2 years ago, that scenario meant you were ordering takeout, canceling your evening plans, and just, pulling an all-nighter with a massive pot of coffee.
Totally, just brute forcing your way through the text.
Right. But today, it's about a 30-second conversation with your data.
It really is, well, it's a profound shift, honestly. We are moving away from treating software as just like a digital filing cabinet where things go to get lost. We're starting to treat it as a highly capable colleague. But, and this is the big catch, that transition, moving from just staring at a blank screen to having a fluid conversation with your data, that is exactly where most professionals are getting completely stuck right now.
Yeah, and welcome back to another deep dive into the source material, because that exact feeling, that feeling of being totally stuck, is what we are tackling today. We've got a huge stack of notes focused heavily on the Microsoft ecosystem.
Yes, very specifically looking at some powerful new workflows.
Right, specifically Copilot Agent Builder, Copilot Notebooks, and Copilot in Excel. And our mission today is really to figure out how you, the person listening to this right now, can build custom, hyper-specialized AI tools without needing to write a single line of code.
Which is the dream, right? And what I find so fascinating about the source material today is the context it gives us.
Yeah.
Because this isn't, it's not a theoretical discussion about AI writing polite emails or brainstorming, like, catchy marketing slogans.
No, we're way past that.
Way past it. The documents we are looking at are firmly rooted in the construction industry.
Which I think is brilliant, honestly, because construction it's like the ultimate stress test for any system. It is a masterclass in controlled chaos.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you have extreme financial risk, you've got constant weather delays, these massively complex supply chains, and like incredibly rigid legal frameworks all just colliding at once on a muddy field. If you can deploy specialized AI to navigate that kind of environment successfully, you can take these exact same tools and apply them to literally any other field.
Exactly. Construction provides the perfect laboratory to see these tools really push to their limits. And it illustrates a core problem that almost every industry is facing with AI right now, which is that the generic chatbot, it's just no longer enough.
Right, it's too vague.
Yeah, we know these underlying models are incredibly powerful, but when you open up a standard AI assistant, you just get a blank prompt box. The tool doesn't know anything about your specific project. It doesn't know your company's standards or the current crisis you're trying to solve.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that blank box, that blinking cursor, is the root of so much anxiety. The tech world keeps talking about prompt engineering like it's this necessary life skill everyone suddenly has to have.
Right, like you're supposed to be a programmer all of a sudden.
Yeah. You hear people say, oh, well, the AI failed because you just didn't prompt it correctly. You need to give it a persona, set the strict parameters, establish the exact output format.
Yeah.
But expecting an entire team of busy professionals to become master prompt engineers just to get through their daily workload, that is, I mean, it's completely unrealistic.
It's totally unrealistic. And honestly, it's a massive bottleneck for companies.
Yeah.
The quality of your team's output shouldn't depend on how well they can, like, sweet talk a language model.
Right.
And that is exactly the problem that Copilot Agent Builder solves. It takes that whole burden of prompt engineering completely off the user's plate.
So how does it actually do that? Because from reading the notes, this isn't just creating a fancy bookmark to a regular AI chat, right?
Not at all. Agent Builder is a no-code tool. That's the key. It allows a manager or a system admin to build a specialized AI once and then deploy it to the whole team right inside Teams. You give the agent 3 specific things: a highly specific role, restricted access to a designated set of your own data, and a defined set of capabilities.
Okay, give me a concrete example of this from the sources. Bring it down to earth for me.
Sure. So the sources highlight something called the CAFR Contract Review Agent. CAFR's is a major industrial services provider, and they built this agent to handle one specific, highly tedious task. They went in and gave the AI the persona of an expert contract administrator who specializes in reviewing documents under AS 4000.
Wait, before we move on, for those of us not wearing a hard hat every day, what exactly is AS4000? And the sources keep mentioning it, hunting for departure clauses. What does that actually mean to a layperson?
Oh, great question. So AS4000 is basically a standard rule book used in Australian construction. It outlines all the baseline rules for a project, who takes on what risk, how delays are handled, that sort of thing.
Okay, standard rule book. Got it.
Right. And a departure clause is simply any time a specific custom contract tries to change or depart from those standard baseline rules. Finding those clauses is absolutely critical because that is where the hidden financial risks are buried. If you miss one, it could cost you millions later on.
Ah, I see. So normally a human being has to sit down with a yellow highlighter and read hundreds of pages, manually comparing the new specific contract against the big standard AS4000 rulebook just to spot the differences.
Precisely. It is grueling, mind-numbing work. But with this agent, they just point the AI directly to their SharePoint contracts library. They literally tell it, your only job is to read incoming documents, hunt for those departure clauses, and instantly generate a standardized risk register.
Okay, but let me push back here for a second. If you drop this agent into Microsoft Teams, where literally anyone in the company can use it, how do we know it's reliable?
What do you mean?
Like if a junior engineer asks it a question on Tuesday and then a senior project manager asks it the exact same question on Thursday, how do we know the AI isn't going to give wildly different answers or worse, just hallucinate a legal clause that doesn't exist?
What's fascinating here is that this raises an important question. It gets to the very heart of why these agents exist in the first place. They are deliberately constrained.
Constrained how?
Because the agent is pre-configured with its persona, its specific instructions, and its restricted data source, it standardizes the workflow. The junior engineer doesn't have to write a 5-paragraph prompt explaining the nuances of the AS4000 contract law to get a good answer.
They just use it.
Right. They just upload a document and say, review this. The agent already knows the rules of engagement. It's hard-coded into its DNA, basically.
This isn't like giving your team a blank search engine. It's like cloning your best senior contract administrator, putting them in a little box inside Microsoft Teams, and letting the junior staff ask them questions all day long. You're stripping the human error out of the prompting process entirely.
Exactly. You build it once, and the expertise scales across the whole company. And the sources show teams using this for all sorts of recurring tasks, not just contracts.
Oh, really? Like what else?
Well, they have meeting summary agents that automatically pull action items from Teams transcripts and format them perfectly into their project management software. They have RFI agents who request for information that draft technical responses based purely on past approved engineering data. It democratizes AI because you don't need prompting skills anymore.
I mean, I love that for standard recurring tasks, the things you have to do every single week, right? But here is the reality of project management, or really any job. A lot of the work isn't standard.
Oh, true.
What happens when the unexpected hits? You are suddenly dropped into a chaotic situation with a mountain of completely different file types, and you need to figure out what went wrong immediately. A highly restricted agent designed only to read AS4000 contracts isn't going to help you make sense of an unpredictable crisis, is it?
You were absolutely right. It would fail completely. An agent isn't... unpredictable pile of disparate information, you need a completely different tool. And in this ecosystem, that tool is Copilot notebooks.
Okay, notebooks. Because the sources describe notebooks as an ad hoc, multi-document research workspace.
Yeah, think of it as a specialized private sandbox for your mind. When a crisis hits, you can just start dumping files into this single notebook environment. PDFs, Word documents, long, messy email threads, data tables, just throw it all in.
Like a digital dump zone.
Exactly. And rather than opening each document one by one and doing a manual keyword search, the AI analyzes all of them simultaneously.
Let's use the extension of time claim from the sources. An EOT. Basically, for those listening, when a construction project is delayed, someone has to prove exactly why it was delayed so they don't get penalized millions of dollars.
Right. And an EOT claim is never just one neat little file.
Never.
To prove it, you might have like 15 different documents. You've got official notice of delay letters, an Excel log tracking the timeline, the original baseline schedule, a bunch of heated back and forth emails between the site manager and the supplier, and the original contract.
It's a total nightmare to sort through manually. I've been there, trying to piece together a coherent timeline from a dozen different sources on my desk. it takes days.
But with notebooks, you drop all 15 of those disparate files into the workspace, and then you can ask cross-document questions. You can ask, what is the contractual basis supporting each delay event mentioned in these angry emails? Or you can ask it to actually evaluate things, like which of these delay events has the strongest documentary evidence backing it up.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, but also where my skepticism kicks in again.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like magic.
Go ahead, lay it on me.
If I throw a casual, emotionally charged, messy email thread into the exact same bucket as a rigid legal contract, does the AI actually understand how a casual complaint from a subcontractor relates to a formal legal clause? Or is it just doing a glorified keyword search and spitting out a list of every time the word delay appears in the pile?
This raises an important question and is the critical distinction here. It is absolutely not doing a keyword search. It is engaging in what we call semantic synthesis.
Okay, buzzword alert. Explain what semantic synthesis actually means under the hood. How does it work?
Fair enough. So instead of looking for specific matching words, like looking for the word delay, the AI language model converts the actual concepts within the text into mathematical coordinates. They're often called vectors.
Wait, it translates words into math.
Yes. So imagine a massive, multidimensional map of human language. On this map, the casual phrase, "we are held up on site because the concrete didn't arrive," and the highly formal legal phrase, "schedule extension due to supply chain failure," are assigned mathematical coordinates that place them right next to each other on the map.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Even though they don't share any of the same vocabulary, the AI understands they represent the exact same concept.
It's less like a keyword search and more like a universal translator.
Yes, exactly.
It takes the rigid structural logic of a contract and the messy emotional context of an email and translates both of them into a shared mathematical language that it can read simultaneously. It's like a digital detective board with the red string connecting all the clues together.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. And because it understands the semantic relationship between the two, it can synthesize an argument. When you ask it to find the strongest documentary evidence, it isn't just counting how many times a word appears. It is literally weighing the narrative in the emails against the requirements laid out in the contract and synthesizing a logical conclusion based on both. It is designed specifically for heavy, complex research, like dispute resolutions or audit preparations.
It's doing the heavy cognitive lifting of finding the needle in the haystack and then telling you what the needle is actually made of. That is incredibly powerful for text and narratives. But, and there is always a but, eventually every project, every business comes down to hard numbers.
The bottom line.
Right. Following the money. A beautifully synthesized narrative in a Word document doesn't mean anything if the math doesn't check out. And that means leaving the comfort of text and diving into the terrifying world of spreadsheets.
Which brings us to the third core tool in this stack. Copilot in Excel.
Now, I have to admit, I usually break out in a cold sweat trying to remember how a VLOOKUP works. I know what I want the spreadsheet to do. I can visualize the result in my head. But translating my human intention into Excel syntax feels like trying to speak ancient Greek.
And that translation barrier is exactly what keeps most people from actually utilizing their data. We just get intimidated and give up. But Copilot in Excel eliminates that barrier entirely by providing natural language spreadsheet intelligence.
Meaning I can just talk to it?
Yes. You don't need to know the complex formulas. You literally just type what you want to know in plain English, and it operates directly on your actual live spreadsheet data.
And the sources note you don't have to, export anything to a third-party dashboard or copy-paste your sensitive data into an external chat window?
No, absolutely not. The AI is living right there natively inside Excel. It can pull the levers and change the numbers right in front of you. Let's look at the variation register example from the source notes to see how this works.
Quick pause again for the jargon check. What exactly is a variation register?
In construction, the plan always changes. A client decides they want a different type of flooring, or an architect moves a wall at the last minute. A variation register is just a master spreadsheet tracking every single time someone changed their mind and exactly how much money that change is going to cost.
Got it. So it's a massive list of financial changes.
Right. And these spreadsheets can have thousands of rows. It's a beast. Normally, you'd have to build complex pivot tables just to make sense of it. But now, you can just open the Copilot pane on the side and type which cost codes are over budgeted by more than 10%. and it instantly filters the data for you.
It's like having an Excel wizard sitting shotgun while you just speak plain English to them.
Exactly. Or you can ask it to visualize things. You can just say, can you make a chart showing the trend of actual versus forecast costs per month?
And it just builds the chart.
Just builds the chart and drops it in. You can even ask it to identify operational anomalies. You can say, identify all rows where the completion date is already passed, but the status column still says in progress. It finds them instantly.
Okay, but here is my biggest fear with AI and numbers. Let's say I ask it to do something highly mathematical. The source notes mention asking it to add a calculated column for earned value. First off, what is earned value?
Earned value. It's a metric that compares how much physical work you have actually completed on the site versus how much money you have spent so far. It basically tells you if you are actually getting what you paid for or if you're bleeding cash.
Okay, so it's a complex dynamic calculation. If I ask Copilot to add a column calculating that, how do I know it didn't just hallucinate the math? My fear is that if I don't know the formula myself, I won't know if the AI is just pasting completely made up static numbers into the cells just to make me happy. How do we actually trust it?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is a crucial point. And it's exactly why the native integration here is so vital. When you ask it to calculate earned value, it is not just pasting dead, static numbers into the grid. It is actually building and generating the underlying Excel formula and applying it to the column.
Wait, really? So I can click on the cell and see the actual math it used?
Precisely. You can click the cell, look up at the formula bar, and see the exact syntax it wrote. It respects the grid architecture of Excel. It builds the logic, and you can verify it line by line. It transforms what is normally an intimidating static wall of numbers into an interactive database that you can interrogate with a conversation while still maintaining full transparency of the map. Okay, that makes me feel much, much better. So we've looked at these three tools individually now. We have Copilot Agent Builder for standardizing recurring team tasks. We have notebooks for chaotic, ad hoc, multi-document research. And we have Copilot in Excel for interrogating hard financial data. But I think the real aha moment for you, the listener, is going to come when we look at how these three tools overlap to solve a single massive project goal.
They are entirely complementary. They really represent different phases of a complex workflow. Let's walk through the scenario from the source material to illustrate this. They talk about the dreaded back charge claim. Basically, a subcontractor messed up, they caused a delay, and now we need to officially charge them for the money it cost us to fix their mistake. How do we tackle this without spending a whole week on it?
It becomes a highly efficient multi-tool workflow. First, you enter the ad hoc research phase. You have a massive mess of supporting evidence emails complaining about the subcontractor, site photos of the mistake, daily site logs, text messages. You drop all of that into Copilot notebooks. Notebooks synthesizes the narrative. It establishes the clear, documented timeline of exactly what went wrong and proves logically why the back charge is justified.
Okay, so Notebooks gets our story straight from the messy emails. It gives us the narrative evidence. But, as we said, a story doesn't pay the bills. How do we extract the actual dollar amounts to prove this claim without manually auditing the spreadsheet for 3 days?
That brings you to phase 2, the data phase. You open your master financial spreadsheet and use Copilot in Excel. You ask it to isolate the specific cost codes related to the subcontractor's mistake, crunch the actual cost data, and highlight the financial anomalies. Now you have verifiable, calculated math to back up the narrative you just built in Notebooks.
So the claim is built, we have the narrative proof, we have the hard data, but once this immediate crisis is averted, how do we stop it from taking up so much time when the next subcontractor inevitably makes a mistake?
That is the third phase, standardization. Now that you understand the exact anatomy of a successful back charge claim, you know what documents are needed. You know what financial data matters. You go into Copilot Agent Builder. You build a custom back charge review agent. You configure it to automatically review any future incoming claims against the exact criteria you just established.
So what does this all mean? It's a brilliant self-reinforcing loop. Agents are for team standardization. Notebooks are for ad hoc research. Excel Copilot is for hard data. It's a three-pronged attack. You use Notebooks to figure out what happened in the chaos. You use Excel to prove exactly what it cost you. And you use agents to make sure your team handles it perfectly and instantly the next time it happens.
You are moving from a state of constantly reacting to messy data to proactively organizing and interrogating it. It fundamentally changes how a team operates.
Which brings us to the wrap-up of this deep dive. Think about the incredible leap we've just taken today. We started by talking about the very real anxiety of staring at a blank chat box, just not knowing what to type to make the AI work for you. But by utilizing Copilot Agent Builder, notebooks, and Excel, you are bypassing generic prompting altogether. You are building specialized, custom AI workflows that can parse legal contracts, synthesize messy emails, and write complex math formulas entirely without coding.
You are taking the deep contextual intelligence that usually resides only in the head of a 20-year industry veteran, and you are democratizing it, scaling it across your entire team. It levels the playing field in a way we really haven't seen before.
But as we often find on this show, solving one major problem usually uncovers a much deeper question about the future.
It does. And I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over today. If any junior team member can easily build an AI agent without knowing a single line of code in Agent that can flawlessly synthesize complex departure clauses and calculate earned value faster than a veteran manager, how does that redefine the value of experience in your industry? In the near future, will true expertise still be defined by knowing all the technical answers yourself? Or will the most valuable experts simply be the ones who know exactly which specialized AI agent needs to be built?
That is a heavy, fascinating shift in how we value human capital, and it is definitely going to change the trajectory of a lot of careers. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We hope this gave you a powerful new framework to rethink your own workflows and finally escape that blank prompt box. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.